the North American teams play a more individual game, also a much rougher game, whereas the European game is, I find it more gentlemanly for one thing, but I find that it's more a group, collective game, and I definitely prefer the European game.
Something a bit different in each one of these games. This is the first scoreless period we have seen, thanks largely to the great goaltending of Jules Gilbert of the Bruins, and more so Vladislav Tretiak of the Central Red Army. And that leads us rather nicely and ideally into a first period feature on the Russian goalie, narrated by the late Jack Dent.
Vladislav Tretiak is only 22, but he's been the goaltender of the Soviet Union's national team for 5 years. His own first division club team, Central Red Army, with stars such as Valery Varlamov, Boris Mikhailov, and Vladimir Petrov, is a perennial power in Soviet hockey. And so Russian fans have been familiar with Tretiak for quite some time, while Canadians know him only for his 2 spectacular series against Team Canada in '72 and '74. It's time we took a closer look at the man behind the wire mask. When he's not studying at the physical training college in Moscow or wrapped up in the chaotic world of dodging slap shots, Vladislav likes to get away from all the tension and relax with a fishing rod. But because his wife is a student too, Vladislav has to chip in with the chores around the home. Today is wash day in the Tretiak household, and the best hands in European hockey are quite capable of wringing out the laundry. Vladislav hasn't had too much practice with the ironing, however, so his wife Tanya steps in to take over. The Tretiaks have a young son named Dima, and when Vladislav was asked if his son might become a goaltender someday, he replied in this way: "Whether he becomes a goaltender or a forward, it doesn't make much difference. The important thing is that he takes up sport and gets to love it, because sport will make a man out of him." If Vladislav Tretiak is doing the teaching, young Dima's bound to pick up a few pointers. In fact, he's already well on the way to mastering the training table technique. Vladislav's wife is a language student, and after dinner is out of the way, Mr. and Mrs. Tretiak have plenty of studying to do. Tretiak has received awards for World Championship and Olympic competition, as well as Outstanding Player awards against Team Canada, and a Most Valuable Player award in the Soviet First Division. But he's still young and still learning. Outdoors with his Central Red Army teammates, you can find Tretiak practicing even in the middle of summer. Alexander Gusev is helping him here with his catching hand. One of Army's coaches, Konstantin Loktev, who acted as an assistant coach in the recent Team Canada series, oversees this dryland training. Working together, the 2 Army goaltenders stress drills for reflexes and agility. But a Soviet practice isn't all drills. Soccer is a popular game for hockey coaches to build up the conditioning and the teamwork of their players. Back at the rink, we see that the goaltenders work as hard as anyone in a Soviet practice. We asked Vladislav what he feels are the most important qualities for playing goal. He told us a goaltender has to be fearless, because a puck can really hurt. He also has to be cool under fire. But the most important thing, according to Tretiak, is that he be willing to work very, very hard. Work is something that Vladislav certainly gets his share of. With the Soviet regular season and playoffs, European and World Championships, and every so often a series against the Canadians, Vladislav usually plays about 100 games in a season. If he felt any kind of strain from all this competitive pressure, Tretiak answered this way: he knows he can't stop every shot, and he gets down on himself when he does make mistakes, because they often mean the difference between winning and losing a game. But he added he will continue to strive for perfection. And from what we over here have seen of Vladislav Tretiak, perfection may not be too far away.
Unlike Alexander Sadolnikov of the wings of the Soviet, Tretiak is almost never out of position. It takes a great shot to beat him, and the Bruins are just going to have to keep trying. Brad Park is one who will. He is a guest of Bill Good Jr. as Super Series 76 continues in a moment.